Hey you guys, my name is Alisa Burke and I'm an artist and a teacher. And today I'm going to be showing you guys how to use stippling in those coloring pages. Now stippling is basically just adding tiny dots to that white space to create dense, darker pigmentation, or you can keep them real light and airy. Stippling can be time consuming because you're basically having to put tiny dots in all these areas, but it's a really relaxing technique and a really fun way to add something different to those coloring pages. Okay, so you are going to start with your blank coloring page and your favorite markers. Now I've got a variety of markers here. I've got my cheap little Crayolas. I've got some koi brush markers or brush pens. I've got these Stabilo markers. So I've got a big variety. Anything is going to work for this. Your coloring pages, this technique of stippling is going to lend itself to pages that have a lot of open space. So that smaller space might not work so well, but pages and designs that have some larger areas of space, this is going to be a great technique for filling that space. So stippling is really just putting dots onto a surface, and it's just another fun way to apply color. And what I've found when I'm using this technique is that it really helps to have different variations of your color. So I've got kind of a darker red that I'm using with my Crayola marker, and I'm going to pick the areas that are close to the center of my flower to really put those little dots next to each other so you get a little bit of a dark look and feel. And then as I come out from that center, those dots are going to have a little bit of space. See how that looks? There's a little bit of dark saturation here and it gets lighter with more space between those dots. Now I'm going to pick a little bit of a lighter color and I'm going to add that lighter color in between some of the space of those darker dots and begin filling the rest of this area with those lighter dots. And what you get is this really nice variation going on. And anywhere that you want it to look like it's blended or it's kind of blending into each other, you can just overlap those areas. So I'm going to fill my petals with these two colors. Okay, so I filled most of my little lines in this flower, and see how you get that great variation with those dots? Now I've also left some empty, and I'm going to use those to actually put solid color in there, so you can kind of get this push and pull between the stippling effect in some of those larger areas and just solid color in other areas, so you've got this real nice contrast going on. Okay, so I have filled my entire flower with some of that stippling and then some solid color. So again, this technique really works for larger, more open spaces. So I'm just going to work my way around my coloring page, filling some of these spaces with stippling and some with solid color, so you really continue to get that push and pull between both techniques. Just adding a few more little dots here and there on this last flower. And what you can see is that I have filled some of these larger areas with my stippling. So I've got a couple of colors. I've got that red and that pink on some of them. I've even gone in and added a little bit more darker areas of dots here and there. Then I've used some of these areas and these larger petals to fill with some stippling, some space within here and here. And then I've also utilized just solid color in a lot of these smaller areas. So you've got this push and pull going on. Okay, so stippling is just a really fun alternative to putting solid color in some of those areas. So if you've got some bigger area, if you've got a lot of white space, or if you just want to mix it up and kind of use something other than just that solid color, stippling and combining a few colors with that stippling, with adding those little dots, is just a fun way to mix things up and add a different look and feel to those coloring pages.